Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 6 minutes after 10 o'clock, Matt Gibbs is in the studio. This is his show. The show is called Auto Repair with Personal Care. Matt is the owner of Sunrise Automotive, an automobile technician himself, in other words, a mechanic, and he's here to answer your questions. The number is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, 622-WOCA. Call at any time. Don't worry if your topic, your question is different than the one we're talking about because, well, Matt's here to answer your questions. Good morning, Matt. How you doing?
Larry. How are you?
All right, so I do have a question for you. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
And this is more of a science question.
Oh.
Because we had a story this morning about love bugs clogging up radiators, and the car could overheat. Okay, have you ever actually had that happen?
Well, yeah, love dirt.
But I mean, somebody comes in, my car's overheating, and all you have to do is wash out the radiator, and it's fixed? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Is that the first thing you look at when somebody's car is overheating?
That's one of the things. There's a couple things you just automatically just think of when they say their car's overheating.
Okay, now before I tell you my question, because my question might make me seem really ignorant, which it wouldn't be the first time. But before, I want to tell you something else. One time when I was younger, my brother is a mechanic. Well, I think everybody in my family is but me. Okay, so my car needed coolant, okay? And my brother put the garden hose into it, and I said, it doesn't say water, it says coolant. And he said, water is a coolant. So I said, oh, I didn't know, so ever since then, I put water in. Okay, I just wanted to tell you that, just kind of as a preface. So the question is this. In science, you learn that cooling is caused by water or by anything evaporating. Okay? A radiator is all enclosed. There is no evaporation. So how does it actually work? How does it actually cool the water?
Well, in order to cool something...
How does a radiator work, in other words?
Well, what it is, the engine produces the friction and the heat is coming from the engine.
Okay.
In order to cool something, you don't add cold to it, you remove the heat from it.
That's right.
Okay? So what the coolant does is it allows the heat, the fluid absorbs the heat.
Okay.
Then it absorbs all that heat in the engine. And it goes through your hoses and goes back in your radiator where air, your fan, you see what I'm saying, is constantly cooling, removing that heat inside your radiator, and lets it go back into the engine.
Just by blowing past the tubes that it's in.
Correct.
Because there's no evaporation taking place.
If there's evaporation taking place, you got a problem.
You got a problem. So, in other words, it makes a smaller tube when it's in the radiator is actually a smaller series of tubes. And because it's smaller, it's easier to cool down.
It's easier to cool down.
Okay.
Now, the thing about it is, I want to go back to what you said in the beginning here about water is a coolant, yes.
Yeah.
But here's the problem with using water. Number one, there's no lubricating factors in water. Okay, there's no rust inhibitors in water. Matter of fact, water is a rust agent. So it is very important to use coolant. Coolant is thicker than water, so therefore it can grab more heat than water. Okay, it can contain higher heat.
Is this a new age thing?
No.
I don't mean new age in the sense like wacky, but I mean, in other words, if I went back 30 years, you'd see everybody putting a garden hose. In fact, at the gas stations, they had a little candy cane shaped hose that you use to put water in your radiator.
And if you want to add some water to like the overflow tank, your reservoir, that's fine.
Which didn't even exist back then.
Well, no, it didn't. Not 30 years ago, it didn't. 20 years ago, it did.
Okay,
and then that was what we did. We made a transition from what we used to call an open cooling system to a closed cooling system. The reason they went to the closed cooling system was because when it gets hot, everything expands. When it cools, everything contracts. and we want to contain that fluid. We don't want the fluid to expand, come out of the car, get on the driveway, dog comes by, licks up the coolant, takes 5 steps, and drops dead. So they closed the system to make it environmentally safer.
Okay. All right, I guess that was my whole question. I think I knew what you were going to say. I wasn't sure though, but I wanted to ask anyway. So, but I think the more important answer really is about the coolant that is we call it antifreeze, right?
Well,
no,
up north they call it antifreeze. Down in the south we call it coolant. Coolant.
But see, the word antifreeze doesn't apply to water. The word coolant does.
Well, antifreeze means because of the agents that's in the liquid,
it won't freeze.
It won't freeze, and by the way you mix it determines the level before it'll freeze.
All right. Let's go to the phone and say good morning. You're on there with Matt.
Good morning, Matt. Sonny calling.
Hey, Sonny.
Sorry I didn't get to you last week, but I was either at the doctor's or I was still under the weather a little. But anyway, I don't know if you're ready for the report on the gas mileage test that we performed or what. I don't know. And that's up to you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, let's hear it. Good, bad, or indifferent. Let's go.
All righty. This goes from the period that I used to verify or check the gas mileage ran from November 30th, 2012 to May 1st, 2013. Now we went from November 30th to 2011 to April, I should say actually November 30th, 2012 to April 28th, 2013. The overall gas mileage for the year prior was 26.39 miles. The overall mileage for our test from last November till now was 27.47 miles per gallon. So that makes a difference of 1.07 miles per gallon increase.
Good.
The difference between Schaefer's oil and the oil that I was using in my car prior to. And like I said, this went from November 2011 to 2012, and then from November to May 2013. And there I get the difference. So it's basically the same time of year, roughly, and my driving habits really didn't change much. It was basically the same. And I have an overall mileage. I took 10 fill-ups, which took a while simply because I only gas up about once every 2 weeks, maybe a little more. So that's what took so long in coming up with the figures. And I don't know what else to say about that. As far as your thing on coolants is, I think down here, or even anywhere, the coolant, in other words, a mixture of whatever antifreeze is comprised of, or antifreeze or coolant is comprised of, has a higher boiling point than if you use plain water. So consequently, the engines are designed to run hotter today anyway. So you use plain water, you're probably more problematic for overheating than you would be if you used a coolant, just for the simple difference of temperature-wise to the boiling point. Anyway, that was the deal with the gas. So basically it's 1.07 increase miles per gallon with the Schaefer's. So if you look at it, you gas up. I got a little car, and I usually run 10 to 11 gallons, so you say 10 gallons. That's 10 miles more per tankful.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I don't know. I'm wondering what you think, Matt, and I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny.
That was cool. That was worth waiting for. So what's the explanation to that? Why does an oil actually give you a better gas mileage?
Well, because of the it reduces friction, allows things to move more freely.
Wow.
And the beauty of it is that that's just a gimme. You see, that's free of charge, no additional cost. That's a gimme. The real thing here at hand is the quality of oil and how you're protecting your engine, and the gas mileage is just an added bonus for using the Schaefer's oil. You know, I would love to be able to say, you know, here's two cars and they run side by side, and and you maintain them the same way, one with Schaefer's, one without Schaefer's. How much longer will the one with Schaefer's, you know, how will it outlast the one with the other type of oil?
That's a long, and that's lots of cars. You couldn't just do it with two.
Right.
Wow. Looks like the phone is ringing. Good morning. You're on there with Matt.
Sonny again. I forgot to mention the fact that when I check my oil, I also give it the old sniff test, and I don't smell that burnt smell that I used to get when I was using the other oil in the car. Still smells like it's, you know, oil, and it doesn't smell like it's burning anything. That's a big plus there. To me, if it has a burn smell, that's oxidation. Oxidation is carbon, could be carbon buildup on the piston heads, the valve stems, or wherever in the crankcase. And the other thing being is that you have even though it costs more, you have a longer duration between oil changes. This is what you told me. Am I right, Matt?
That's right.
Well, that's another thing to take into consideration, especially if you hang on to cars like I do. Thank you, and thanks again for everything.
Thank you, Sonny.
For programming WOCA, and thank you, Matt.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and that's what we're about, right? That's what you say in the video, by the way. That's the part of you said a lot, but the part I kept was, the part I used, I should say, was where you're actually talking about enjoying meeting the people that really got to know you through this.
Right, absolutely.
Which is kind of cool. I'm one of them.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for this.
That's right.
I'm a listener, too. Good morning. You're on there with Matt.
Yeah, good morning, Matt.
Morning.
Say the stepson stopped over Mother's Day weekend, cars out in the driveway out there, and I said, let's pop the hood. I want to take a look on it and see what's going on. And I noticed the battery terminals were all corroded or with that white stuff in that.
Yep.
Now, is that an indication that the battery's on its way out, or the connections are not correct, or what can you do to improve that? Or
You know, we offer a battery service just to clean the corrosion that builds up on batteries. We take them apart, we clean them. We have a special chemical that we clean it with.
Yeah.
Then we have a special chemical that we seal it with. Oh. And we also go ahead and check the operation of the battery, load test it and whatnot, you know, and see where it's at. Typically here in the South, a battery should last, you know, 3 to 5 years, maintenance free and with no problems. And I think just because of our heat, it kind of takes the longevity. You know, up in the north you have the cold, and down here in the south we have the heat, and both elements kind of.
Yeah. Is there like is the battery like leaking, or what's causing that white stuff? Is it leaking something, or?
Well, I mean, a battery when it's charging and going through its process of doing things, it produces hydrogen gas. So So you know, things that are metal. I don't know if you've ever messed around with any kind of hydrogen gas, but you know, I have, and hydrogen gas and metal, they just don't seem to like each other too much.
Yeah. Is there a commercial product you can buy to spray on the terminals to keep them clean? Yeah,
there's a chemical called CRC, and you can get that at any of your local parts houses.
Yeah.
And they have CRC. They have it's an aerosol can.
Yeah.
You take the terminals apart, clean them all up with a wire brush or whatever you use, and spray it all down with a cleaner. Wipe everything nice and clean, and then CRC has a battery terminal sealer. It's a red sealer.
Yeah. With really a large amount of corrosion on those terminals, if it wouldn't be clean, would it interfere with the performance of the battery and not make it as strong as it should be?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of times what we see now is, you know, back in the day, a battery terminal was made out of lead, so you had lead on lead.
Right.
A lot of the cars today, it's steel on lead.
Oh.
And what will happen is the battery terminals, if that corrosion stays there, it'll actually cause the steel just to go away.
Yeah.
And it'll just break, and then
Yeah.
basically the battery cable breaks off of the battery.
Yeah, yeah. Are those batteries mostly produced in this country, or is it another product from China or Mexico?
It wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Interstate, they claim to be made, produced, everything right here in America.
Yeah, right.
I know that the battery guys come around looking for core batteries, lead for the wheel weights and all that stuff. So I think there's still quite a bit of battery production here in this country.
Yeah. Do you prefer Interstate yourself for sales?
I like Interstate.
Yeah.
I like. Let me tell you what I like. I like a battery company that stands behind their product. That's what I like. If a customer comes to me and they get a battery and they have a battery issue and they're in Georgia on their way on their vacation, I like it for them to be able to go to a lot of different places and take care of and not have any problems.
Right. Okay, well, thanks a lot. Nice talking.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye now.
A lot of people right now getting ready to take that road trip of the year. A lot of us do that. I did it when Alex was little, and we'll put that thought on hold. Go to the phone. Good morning. You're on the air.
Morning. It's Sonny again. The batteries, when you see that corrosion, that's actually the battery leaking some energy, which is basically in the form of electrolysis, which causes the deterioration in the forming of that material that is corrosion. And if you can stop that, you're ahead of the game. Also, the fact that I've had batteries that only lasted, say, 1 year, and then I would replace it, and I was at that time a big fan of Sears and Roebuck, so they took the battery and gave me another one. And then the following battery would last. I would get sometimes 5-6 years out of a battery, as opposed to the standard battery life of, depending on the guarantee you got, of 3-4 years. Some of them used to guarantee them 5 years. But batteries are funny animals, I guess. But you can't do enough to keep the corrosion down, and also it helps your electrical system if you can keep those terminals clean. That's the way I found it over the years of my driving and working on my own cars. Which I don't do now. Matt does. All right, thanks.
Yeah, I don't do mine either anymore. Not that I ever did. I think you have another call coming in. Good morning. You're on there with Matt.
Good morning. I previously tried the Schaefer's oil. And I got a little over miles per gallon difference. But one thing it appeared to me, if I was looking at it right, I do a lot of interstate driving, and usually set my cruise on about 72 miles an hour. And it seemed like it was turning over about 200 RPMs less at 72 miles an hour using the Schaefer's oil. Should that be the case?
Yeah, that would just contribute to, the less the engine has to perform and work, the less that it's required to do the same act. Okay, in other words, if you're at 72 miles an hour and 3,000 RPM, because that's what's required of the motor to obtain that and keep that, if we can make it roll freer, well, now it can go at 72 miles an hour. Now you could be at 2,800 RPM because the motor is just able to, it's more efficient now.
Yeah, well, that seems to me to be the biggest factor in me using the Schaefer's oil. Because you look at 200 RPMs over the life of an engine, you're talking about quite a bit of wear.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I just want to double check because it does appear that it runs about 200 RPMs less at 72 miles an hour.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's something we haven't looked at, but thank you for calling.
All right.
Wow, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? So, and combining that whole kind of revelation with the traveling for the summer, if you were to get 1 mile per gallon more, and you're going out to the West Coast, let's say, I mean, you could probably add it up. It's probably a motel. You're probably saving enough money for one night at a motel or something.
Exactly.
I don't know. I didn't do the math, but
I mean, a good friend of mine, he did it. We did it in his car, and he's kind of like Sonny. He's a numbers kind of guy. He figured out Because of the savings he's got in fuel economy, it doesn't cost him anything to change. It pays for the oil change.
Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like because of what I'm saving, the next time I need an oil change, it's free because of what I've saved.
And the other unanswered question is what repairs take, what time between repairs is lengthened? You know what I mean?
Right. And will it ever? And could it possibly have saved you from a catastrophic repair?
Now, I'm glad that you. So the way you did it was so good. I mean, a Schaefer salesperson might have come on day one and just told us all this stuff, and the way we learned about it was from an actual listener,
right?
As opposed to you bragging about it. You said, "I want to know. Does anybody out there want to take me up on this?" And Sonny did. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we offered it to Sonny because Sonny's. I know. I've got to know Sonny.
Yes, you did.
And I offered it to him because I knew he would be diligent about doing it.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is the way this information came to us, and it was a long process.
Right.
Okay, it wasn't like 1 week. It was just made a decision. I mean, we know that this is honest. We know that you're not a salesperson trying to change our minds about whatever our favorite oil is.
Right. Because it makes no difference to me personally. If someone comes in and says, I want castor oil, I'll get castor oil. If they want Mobil 1, I get Mobil 1.
You know what? While we're talking about it, how do we know the different choices? 10W30, 30 straight without the 10W, 10W40. How do we know what to use?
The way and the way that the cars are changing and the way that manufacturers are building the engines, I'm really, really paying close attention to what they're saying. Toyota now the new cars, they're using a zero weight oil, a 0W5, 5W20.
Really?
Yeah. 15, 20 years ago, you could not even comprehend a 0W5 oil.
Yeah, right.
But because of the way that they're building them, people will freak out because you're taught this. Your dad has taught you this. His dad's taught him this.
Right.
And things are changing, so you really just got to pay attention, gather the information that becomes available, listen to what the manufacturer is saying, because be honest with you, they're the ones that are spending millions and millions of dollars in research and development.
Yeah. So what does it actually mean? What does that first number mean? First of all, when there's no first number, it just says 30 weight or whatever, right? What does that mean? And what does the first number mean when there's two numbers?
The weight of the oil is, if it's a straight weight, it never changes. It's a straight weight. Okay. And basically what it's saying is 5W30 under certain weather conditions, it stays at 5 or it goes to 30. It has a variance. It
because
can change
of the heat?
Because of heat.
Okay.
And because of or cold. It can change because of climate.
So the colder it is, I'm guessing the higher the number.
Right. The colder it is, the thinner you want your oil. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't want it cold will cause it to be so thick.
Right. Okay.
So so you want it to be able to only get this thick.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain it in a way that we could all understand it.
Yeah, I sort of kind of do. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning. Hi, Matt. Hi, Larry. This is Kathy. I just wanted to, most people would know this, and I didn't until I just learned it. All of a sudden, my speedometer was acting crazy, like registering 20 to 30 miles more than what I was actually going.
Okay.
And I was thinking, do I need a new speedometer? I ended up calling the dealership. They wanted $550. I thought, oh, no. You know what it was? Well, let me see if you can guess what it was.
Huh.
Well, did you put new tires on the car?
No.
Why?
I've been monkeying around with my dial with the speed and all that. The mileage.
Oh, so you flipped it over to like kilometers?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Did I ever learn a lesson on that one?
$500 to fix a switch.
Yeah, that's
nothing.
crazy.
Nothing. It's no problem. My brother-in-law figured that.
Where's the switch? I don't think I know where my switch is.
Well, I have a funny thing. It's hard to clear it. It went into German, all this nonsense, Not good.
It's funny.
But I just want to throw that out in case anybody else didn't know that, too.
Wow, I never knew it would do that. Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, okay.
So I might not have a switch.
Yeah, right. Some cars don't.
Come on, you're on there with Matt.
You know, driving is a lot easier today than it was years ago. In the wintertime, you put in a lighter weight oil, and in the summer, you put in a heavier weight oil because, you know, if you remember that, back then it was just common for a car to burn a quart of oil between oil changes. And you didn't have the PVC valves and all the other stuff that help keep the pollution out of the air. But it was quite a deal years ago. And then the other thing is you start the car up, you better make sure in the wintertime that you have the clutch depressed, otherwise the thing isn't turning over because of the 90 weight oil in the transmission. So, you know, today we take so much for granted, it's unbelievable. But again, like I said, people, if you just want to just verify something for yourself, go out and check your oil and smell that dipstick. I bet you 10 to 1 you're going to smell something that smells like something is burning, and that's oxidation, and that's taking place in your engine. Stay with the Shapers. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yes, you sold me on the idea. Yeah, very good. So let's see, 1 mile extra per gallon. So that's 10 miles per tank on a 10-gallon tank, right? So let's see, if you get 30 miles to a gallon. Oh, I can't. It's bogging my mind. I was trying to figure it out real quickly. All right, Matt, what's your phone number?
My phone number is 690-1993.
And where are you?
I'm at 1800 Northwest 10th Street.
Sunrise Automotive. If you didn't catch that, if you're driving, you couldn't write it down, call us here at the station. We'll be glad to tell you where Matt's garage is, Sunrise Automotive is. And you can also go to WOCA.com. Look at the guest list for AM Ocala Live. You'll see Matt's name and information every Monday at the 10:05 slot. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Larry.
We'll take a little break and be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. Where in Florida? A mix of sun and clouds today. The afternoon high.